Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another video. Hope you guys are doing well today. And in this video, we're going to be looking at my rogue build. Now, a couple of disclaimers with this. The first one is it's not actually my rogue build. It came from D4 Builder, the website. I found someone that had made something that sounded really interesting, and I wanted to give it a go. I played it, kind of made it mine a little bit, changed a couple of things, but just generally it came from that, and that was the source. So, not trying to steal credit. Second one is it's not a build you can run at level 1. You're probably going to need to be upwards of 40, certainly able to have access to the death trap as well as some of the passives later on in the tree. So speaking of the tree, let's have a quick look-see, shall we? So I'm not going to go over it too much. I'm going to talk more about the abilities and skills we use later on. But this is the tree I'm running currently. It does run without a generator, but obviously as to get to the next level, we do need to run something up here, so it doesn't really matter. Just put it in puncture for why not. So I'm not going to talk through it too much. Like I said, we'll go through the abilities and passives now. Everything synergizes later on. So this is the tree as we are running it currently at the moment. Very importantly, we are running the exposure kind of key passive, as they call it. In terms of the Paragon tree, again, not going to go over it too much. This is what I'm running at the moment. But the Paragon tree on the website is actually very, very good. You should have a look at that, and it's very well kind of described as to what you want to be going, which direction, and all that good stuff. So in terms of the items then, what I'm currently running is on the helmet, we're looking for CDR, life, armor, and then dex. That would be my ideal helmet. As you can see, we have 3 out of 4 of those. Just haven't hit that armor roll yet. We've been a little bit unlucky. In terms of our chest, we're looking for life, armor, damage reduction, and damage reduction while poisoned. That's the dream, very, very defensive chest. Haven't quite hit it yet, but again, we're very close. In terms of our gloves, we're looking for +4 ranks of penetrating shot, more if we can get them because it is such a major source of our damage. Critical strike chance, trap skill cooldown reduction, and probably dex or lucky hit chance to generate primary resource. The arm trap at time of your trap skills sounds great, but it's actually a bit of a bait. It's not very good. On our legs, then, my legs are actually awful for what we're looking for at the moment. We're looking for very specifically +4 ranks of poison trap, life. We're then going to be looking for kind of like damage reduction, damage reduction from enemies that are poisoned, that sort of thing. Armor, any of those defensive stats. On our boots, then, we are looking for these unique boots. So you leave behind a trail of frost that chills enemies, and you deal 10% more damage to chilled enemies. Obviously, that's just the roll. 10% is great. Now, we could get a couple of bit of pieces or rolls on certain things here. So, as an example, we're missing like 10% movement speed, which would be massive. We're missing like 20% resistance, which would be massive. We could get better, but just generally, as soon as you get these boots, get them on. On our amulet, we're actually looking for as many passives as possible. So, in a perfect world, we're looking for like +3 ranks of exploit, +3 ranks of malice, +3 ranks of weapon mastery, things like that. Anything that's going to be big damage multiplier boosts. For me, I've got ranks of weapon mastery. I've also got a percentage damage increase and a percentage dex increase, as well as damage with ranged weapons. So, just generally, it's a very offensive amulet. We're looking for those big offensive stats there. Secondly, then on our rings. Now you can see crit strike chance, crit strike damage, and vulnerable. They are our core things that we want to roll on a ring. We also then want whatever fourth. So damage to chilled enemies, damage with ultimate skills, damage to poison enemies, dex, anything. If you want to go a little bit survivable, you can go what I've done with my other ring, which is crit strike damage, crit strike chance, vulnerable, and a life roll. So I've got a little bit of a balance there, one offensive, one defensive ring. On our weapons, then, we are looking for crit strike damage, vulnerable damage, damage to crowd control enemies, and then ideally we'd like core skill damage. I've got Dex. It's probably the second best alternative, or one of the better alternatives that we could get. But this weapon is absurd. In terms of our swords, now our swords don't matter in terms of damage. Our crossbow does. We're ranged, so we want a high item power crossbow with the right stats. Our swords don't really matter on damage, so we're just looking for crit strike damage, vulnerable damage, core skill damage, and then like dex, ultimate skill damage, that sort of thing. What I'm running at the moment, if that dex would roll to core skill damage, this sword would be fantastic, as would my second sword, which is almost exactly the same, funny enough. But yeah, they're very, very strong. In terms of our overall stats, then, we've got 32% critical strike chance, or 31.7. Our critical strikes are doing 261.5% damage, which is absurd. And we have over 300% vulnerable damage bonus. That is absurd. I just don't think you understand how crazy that is. That's what we want. That's why we do so much damage. So we have a couple of different ways here. So I'm going to run out into the world. We've got a couple of minutes on this Helltide. I'm hoping we can go and find a couple of packs of mobs. We just want to keep our Dark Shroud up all of the time. And the reason for that is it's a damage reduction. It's going to try and prevent us getting one shot. But just generally, we also want it for our move speed. Now we've got a pack of mobs here. First thing I'm going to do as soon as we see a decent enough density pack of mobs, and density is king for this build. So this works. We'll put a poison trap down, dash away, and explode. Now you just see everything's taking like 100k, 200k damage. If you line it all up properly, you get some like lucky procs with things. You can easily be hitting like 900k with my build. I've hit over 1 million. It's absurd. I will try and just briefly find a rare pack or a big elite pack. Oh, this will do. So what I would do on this pack is kind of stealth in, poison trap, death trap, run out or dash out, and then we penetrating shot. Now, as you can see, we took some damage, but this build is actually surprisingly tanky. And the cooldowns, as you can see, like we put a trap down, burst the pack, and we've already got our poison trap back. Every time we spend energy or 100 energy, we get cooldown reduction on a death trap. Every time we get a lucky hit, we have a chance to reduce the cooldown on all of our traps. We have so much cooldown reduction. We play around our stealth as our major defensive, and we use dash a lot. So the build in itself actually plays quite simply. You basically play around your traps. You see, I drop a trap, everything's knocked down and slowed. We then hit it really hard. Again, we kite things into our trap, we see them, we pop them. It really is that simple, and just naturally, our poison's going to be doing quite a lot of damage there as well. Now, one thing we can do, we're not going to be able to do it here, unfortunately, but one thing we can do with this build, so you can have up to 4 poison traps down. As you can see, 111 or 110k roughly poison damage. The damage is absurd. Now, if I was to do this, so I go into stealth, we spam poison traps. That's 4 different poison traps there. They're all going to go off. We use our death trap, which is going to spawn here as well, back into stealth, and we can put another 4 poison traps down. Absolutely absurd, and you'll see boss's health just diminish. And the reason for that is our aspects. Now, I'm going to briefly go over what aspects we're running and what the benefits of them are. So we're using Cheats aspect on the helmet for reduced damage from crowd controlled enemies. Every mob we touch is crowd controlled. It's either slowed, knocked down, dazed, everything. So this is great. I'm running the 25% or 0.25% increased armor when you deal any form of damage. If I just show you on these mobs here, I've put my poison trap down. We're already up to 20, 30, 40 stacks. It stacks very quickly. I mean, if I just throw down a death trap on a couple of mobs, you see we go up 10 stacks. In dungeons, I very rarely don't have 100% stacks of these, and that in itself is actually quite busted. Didn't want to do that. I want to do that. We're then running on our gloves. Direct damage to a vulnerable enemy has a chance to daze them. Now, daze is a hard CC. They can still move, but they're not going to be hitting you back, and that's what we like to hear. Every mob we touch is just vulnerable, and that comes from our other aspects, so it's just naturally a very good choice. Damaging an elite enemy grants you a barrier. It's a really low roll, but actually it's a very, very good ability. It lasts for 10 seconds, and it will probably last the full 10 seconds as well. So its only downtime is the 20 seconds in between the barrier running out and the next one spawning. Pretty much between elite packs, you should have this back up. Obviously, I talked about the boots already. We run Edge Masters on our main weapon, and this is for the 40% increase or up to 40% increased damage based on your primary resource when cast. Now, The ideal scenario is you do all your setup with your traps, you stealth in, drop a trap, dash out. At that point, they are slowed or dazed, so they're CC'd. They're poisoned, so they take more damage. You've just dashed, so you have increased critical strike damage, and then you pop them with one or two penetrating shots. This is going to have maximum effect from Edge Masters, and that's going to hit them very, very, very hard. Like I said, I've already had over 1 million hits, or sorry, crits, and there's more to get out of the build yet as well. We then also run, whenever penetrating shot damages an enemy, two additional arrows split off to either side. These side arrows do 23 or up to 25% of penetrating shots base damage. Now, this is good. We use this for two reasons. One, for damage, and damage will come during this. Obviously, if I hit it for 1 million and these split, they're going to be doing 250k each. That's nothing to like blow your nose at. However, the main reason for using this and why you would want it, even just as a base aspect, is because the more enemies you hit that are poisoned, the more lucky hits that can happen, the quicker you get your traps back. So it's actually a way of regenerating our cooldowns early on. It translates into a little bit more of your damage later on. We also run making an enemy vulnerable. Bear in mind, we make every enemy vulnerable. Has a up to 50% chance to grant 3% increased critical strike chance for 3 seconds, up to 9%. So pretty much we go in, we use our trap. That's going to make everything vulnerable. We then should have a good chance at having that extra 9% critical strike chance, which will put us up to closer to that 40% mark. And we're just going to be able to blow packs up. We also then run dealing direct damage to enemies affected by your trap skills have 65 or up to 75% chance to make them vulnerable. This is why we run it on an amulet for the increased chance here. Up to 75% chance they're gonna be vulnerable. Like I said, you hit them with one penetrating shot, they're gonna get hit by the penetrating shot, the forks off, the damage from the trap, all sorts, right? We then have Poison Trap no longer breaks stealth and triggers no cooldown or arm time while you're in stealth. Now, that's what you've just seen in terms of me being able to set up my traps there. It's very, 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 very strong. This doesn't come from a dungeon. You actually have to have this legendary drop. So if you intend on playing this build, maybe picking it up early is not a bad idea. And just saving the aspect. Having an 8 second, the difference between 8 seconds and 5 seconds here is actually multiplied by 4. Because if you're going to burst a boss, as an example, and put 4 big traps down before he spawns, or she spawns, or the boss spawns, whatever, obviously having 8 seconds per trap increase cooldown can be very, very long, and it's going to take a lot longer for you to work that back. Whereas 5 seconds, yes, it's still going to take you a little while, but 20 seconds as opposed to 32, quick maths, is pretty significant. We also have killing a vulnerable enemy grants you increased energy regen for 4 seconds. Now, as we talked about, every one of our enemies that we kill is going to be vulnerable. So this is pretty much always going to be up while you're fighting. And yeah, our specialization, we run preparation just for more ultimates, and our ultimate skill resets the cooldowns of our other skills, which allows us this big poison trap burst. But I mean, I can just show you on this. I put 4 poison traps down, come out of stealth, and you can just see like he was taking 29k before it even ramped up. You just make this death pool of poison. I don't tend to use this very often in dungeons. In dungeons, what I will do is kind of run into a pack with either stealth or my dark shroud up, drop a poison trap, dash out, and then do damage. And I can keep the momentum up going quite quickly. Like I said, we're not fantastic at prolonged single target fights. We prefer big bursty single target fights or massive AoE pulls. But yeah, if there's anything else you guys are interested, please let me know. More videos around this is going to come, and I've got a couple of other builds of my own that are coming very soon as well. So if you guys enjoyed, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. You guys have absolutely blown up the channel recently. Keep doing it. Thank you. Bye.